GC Sidebar, a short and sharp conversation series with leading general counsels about the decisions, the reflections, and the people behind the title. I'm Trista Engel, CEO of Paragon Legal, and today I'm joined by Kevin Young, General Counsel at MasterClass, the online video platform where the world's most accomplished creators become teachers. Kevin has built his career where content, creators, and technology meet, from Vessel to Twitch and now leading legal at MasterClass. Kevin, thank you so much for being here.
Happy to be here.
What's one issue facing legal teams right now that you think is overrated or premature?
I think I'll answer this in kind of two ways. One is, it is a bit premature, I think, right now where people think that AI is going to replace legal teams. But I also think it's incredibly important for legal teams to focus on AI and be really, truly proficient in how to use AI. I think, look, legal AI tools are great. And I think they're super powerful. They're amazing, augmenters for legal teams. But I think the fallacy, at least right now, who knows where the technology will be in, 1, 2, 3 years. But right now, I think the fallacy is that it will entirely replace a legal team. I don't think that's true, right? I think there's a lot of potential weaknesses there. I think it hallucinates. I think it doesn't have that institutional context, it doesn't have those relationships that legal teams build with the business. And so it can't really fully replace a lawyer, whether it's a junior person or a mid-level or a senior person. But I do think it's incredibly important for, legal teams to understand how AI works, right? Because it helps augment what you do on a day-to-day basis. It helps augment your advice you give. It helps, do research. It helps you draft, and I think it would be, akin to kind of ignoring the development of the internet, back in the day, right? And so I don't think it's prudent for legal teams to ignore it, but I do think it is a bit premature to think it will entirely replace legal at this time. So, but yeah, I think it's a cool tool, and I continue to think about it in terms of my team and how it will help us support the business.
I 100% agree, and we really don't want the fear of AI to stop us from figuring out how to best use it and how to harness it, because like you said, there are so many valuable use cases, and we want to make sure as an industry we are keeping up and figuring out how to best use it.
Yeah, I think it's important too, because look, not just legal tech AI, but the business itself is using AI constantly, right? If you're a product lawyer, your engineers are vibe coding constantly. So if you ignore AI, you're not going to understand the product. And I think it's important to really understand, how your business teams are using AI as well. So
What's something that surprised you about the GC role?
I think, the one thing that surprised me was the amount of non-legal work I do. Some parts of it I kind of understood and expected, right? The management parts, right, of the people management aspects, the budget management, I think I expected that too, right? Even the strategic thought partner, I think, being a strategic thought partner to the business is something that I do day in, day out. But outside of all those things I expected, I didn't really expect to kind of focus so much on, the products, and services that like my team uses to really be efficient and good lawyers, and that's like non-legal work that I view, right? And so look, as the business scales, it's hard for legal to get resourced one-to-one, right? We're a cost center. Like if we double our business, it's not like I suddenly get double the headcount, right? And so, yeah, really thinking about legal tech and thinking about those products and services that will help me augment my team to help continue to support the business is something I do daily, weekly, and honestly, look, legal tech has always been here, but in the past, 1, 2 years, I really think there's been a proliferation of a lot of legal tech development with AI. And I think I'm constantly evaluating tools, taking calls, looking at new services, new products out there that will help me augment my team. And I think that's something that I've never really thought about before taking on the GC role, that, I just wanted to be a lawyer. I just wanted to do those things. Yeah. Being a product evaluator or a person that's taking sales calls with product teams, I think is something that's new and different for me.
That's a really interesting and nuanced point. It is certainly a common theme that being an individual contributor is very different from being the leader of a function, and what got you to this role is not what's going to make you successful in this role. And you point out some of the main differences around people management and budget management, but I like how you point out the nuance of the other parts of the role that aren't sort of the obvious non-legal work parts of the role. And a big one is being a buyer. And that is a really different skill set, even from being a leader.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's one career moment that changed your trajectory?
So I spent the first half of, well, a little bit less than the first half of my career as primarily being a securities and capital markets lawyer, both in New York and in San Francisco. And, a little over a decade ago, I got the opportunity to join a small startup, 50 to 70 people, focused on the media space. And I was the second lawyer there, right? And that was a company called Vessel at the time. I didn't have any experience working in the media space, in the content space. Didn't have any experience working in the startup world, really, other than being outside counsel. And my boss at the time, my mentor and friend now, really took a flyer on me. He basically said, look, if you were able to do an IPO, you're able to do an M&A transaction, you can learn this, you can figure this out. And I think that opportunity really changed the course of my career. Like, I wouldn't be where I am now without, him taking a flyer on me and really hiring me. The importance there, I think, is really the fact that you hire for the people. You don't really hire just for the resume. Now, obviously, experience is incredibly important, but I don't think that's the only thing you should judge, someone based on if you're hiring for a role. Really, you're looking at someone that can be flexible, that can do multiple things, learn quickly on the fly, and especially for a small legal team like the team that I have, I really want jack of all trades that are able to learn things quickly, because look, we work in a startup environment. I want people to continue to grow and evolve and do new opportunities and new things. And, as the business changes, we want to be able to change along with it. And so I think it's really important to hire the person and not just what they represent on a piece of paper. So
I absolutely love that point, and it's a great lesson for any hiring manager, any leader. And I love that it came from someone taking that chance on you and seeing something in you. Hiring is the hardest and most important job that any manager has. And you're hiring for the potential. You're not hiring for the experience. And you pointed that out very articulately.
yeah, and I think outside of just the hiring, it's also the ongoing kind of mentorship and support. I love giving my team the ability to do different things, right? And so I'm constantly in conversation with each and every one of them to make sure that what they're doing, they like and they enjoy, and that there's opportunities for them to do different things too at the company. My legal team is very small. Our company moves quickly, as I'm sure you and your other clients experience. And so I want to give my team, the opportunities to do those different things because they'll continue to grow their career, and I want to continue to foster that. And so not just hiring, but also just constant mentorship and evaluation.
Agreed. That's fantastic. GCs today have a wide range of resourcing options beyond just FTEs and outside counsel. What's your approach to resourcing your legal team?
Yeah, like I mentioned before, the scaling of a legal team is not really one for one with the business, unfortunately, as a cost center. And so, look, outside of just products and services that help augment my team, I continually think about, more flexible legal arrangements, right? With temporary arrangements or people, hiring people through Paragon, which I've done historically in the past. I think it helps a lot to help augment my team, right? And so I think about it in two ways. One is, I look at more very short-term engagements, right? So one of the examples is we've used, Paragon to help us support our team during sales cycles, right? So end of quarter, end of year, deal flow picks up. Let's say, and again, like I mentioned, I have a pretty small legal team. If I need to, I can augment, my team with someone from Paragon. And in that case, I look for someone that's able to ramp up quickly, that understands the sales cycle, understands the sales flow, and is able to get up to speed real quickly. For kind of more medium-term, longer-term arrangements, I think flexible arrangements also work really well. But in that sense, I look at it like purely like hiring. You want to, like I mentioned, hire for the right person, hire for the right fit with the team that understands the business, that has a longer ramp-up period, and I'm okay to take a flyer on somebody in that sense, right? So
That's great. And I think to tie it back to your earlier point, it's part of the development of your team. You can give them different opportunities and allow them to take on different projects if you can bring in someone to fill in the day-to-day and support their work so that they can go take these development opportunities. So I love the framing, the sort of two ways that you think about flex talent and how it can augment your team, but also how it can develop your team.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you're not lawyering, where are you most likely to be found?
So my mom is a librarian, so I grew up around books, love books, so probably curled up on a couch somewhere reading something. Typical Bay Area. I'm outside a lot, love the outdoors, love skiing, love hiking. So mostly, either with a book or really trekking somewhere. Love traveling as well, like a lot of people. And so love experiencing new cultures and new experiences. So
Awesome. Any recent book recommendations?
I'm a big sci-fi fantasy geek, so I'm reading the last book in this series, the Sun Eater series. For nonfiction, I'm also reading a book my brother recommended called Proto, which is about the development of an ancient language and how it's spread out throughout the world.
And the bonus question, Paragon turns 20 this year. What's one memory from 20 years ago that still stands out to you?
Yeah, 20 years ago, I was a 1L in law school, and I went to school at Cornell in upstate New York, and my undergrad was in San Diego. So 20 years ago, I probably was, for what I remember, stuck in snow somewhere. It was the first time I've lived in snow. So what memory I remember is honestly 20 inches of snow being dumped on us overnight. And I don't think I only had flip-flops and shorts, and so didn't understand what snow was, and so that was a shock to my system. But
Straight to the mall to get the proper attire. Awesome. Well, that was really fun, Kevin. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and your journey with us today.
absolutely, thank you so much.
All right, that's a wrap on today's episode of GC Sidebar. Catch more great conversations on our website at paragonlegal.com. Thanks for tuning in.